a couple questions just like this. Like I think we've done one in every section of module 2, so that would be the last 3 class days in a row, but let's remind ourselves, if we are given 2 points and we want to write the equation of a line, we always start by finding the slope, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 1 minus 6 is -5. 12 minus a -20 will become 12 plus 20, which is 32. Then you take the slope and either point and plug into point slope. So that would be y minus 6 equals -5 over 32x minus a -20. But x minus a -20 will become x plus 20. Then we're going to distribute this -5 over 32. We have to solve for y as our next step. So the first thing we do when solving for y is distribute my slope. So -5 over 32 times 20. Oop, I did 5 over 30. -5 over 32 times 20. There we go. Math, enter, enter. We'll turn it into a fraction for us. And then to get the y by itself, we'll add this 6. So just remember that you need to use their letters. So this wouldn't be y, it would be g of t, and this would be t. Now, I just want you to know that on tests, I do go through and I check every question by hand. So if you were to accidentally do something like y equals -5/3 x plus 23 over 8, I would give you credit for it. So there's no message my instructor button, obviously, because it's a test, but know that I will go through and I will double check everything so that if you make a small mistake like that, I'll get your credit back for you. Okay. All right, so for this next one, when we have this weird transformation rules question, you start on the inside here. And if you were going to plug this 5 in, what you would want to do is multiply by -5.5 and then add 9.3. But on the inside, we do the opposite operations in the opposite order. So what we will do is we will take this 5 and subtract the 9.3 first, and then divide the -5.5. So again, instead of multiply and add, we subtract and then divide. So this will be 0.78. And now for your numbers on the outside, you do what you see and in the order that you see. So if I was putting a -4 on the outside here, we would multiply it by the 14.4. And then subtract the 9. So this would be -66. Okay. Now, here, we're going to do some operations with functions. So if we have P here is the graph, F is the table, and M is this equation. So if I want to do P of 5 plus F of 5, well, here on the graph, P of 5 is 3. And F of 5 is 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4. Now F of 3 minus M of 3, okay, well, F of 3 is 4. To do m of 3, I'm going to put it in my calculator. So -2 times 3 plus 8 times 3 squared minus 9. So m of 3 is 57. And so then 4 minus 57 will be -53. So then this next piece is P of 4 times M of 4. So up here on the graph, P of 4 is 1. And then use the calculator again. M of 4 is 111. So 1 times 111 is 111. And then F of 1 over P of 1. F of 1 is 5. P of 1 is 4. And they want a fraction, so they want a decimal, so that would be 1.2 flat. Now, domain, remember, is your left to right. So from left to right here, we're on the left starting at -1, and that's at a closed dot. So that gets a bracket. And then if there is no dot, then there should be an arrowhead. So on the right, this is going to keep on going forever. So on the right, we put an infinity. And then my range is bottom to top. So my arrow here is going down forever, so that means -infinity. And the top of this is at 5 on the y. Now, if you are at a value actually on the line, then you put a bracket. So to write the equation of this line, we need two things. We need the slope and the y-intercept. So to find the slope, I pick any two lattice points. It doesn't matter which 2 points you pick. Any 2 points will give you the same slope. And then we count the rise and the run. So this actually doesn't rise, it falls. That means its slope is negative. And it was down 3, and then its run was 2. So the slope is -3/2. And the y-intercept is right here at -1. Don't forget to use their letters. So this is h of c equals -3/2 c minus 1. Okay, so for this next one, the 2 that's being multiplied makes it a vertical stretch. And that vertical stretch would multiply the y values by 2. The 10 on the inside would be a horizontal shift. And it would go, remember that we do the opposite of this sign, so this would go left 10. And so then that means it would subtract 10 from the y values. X values, excuse me. Subtract 10 from the x values. And then this 17 on the outside would be a vertical shift. Up 10. So that would add 10 to the y values. All right. I already have this in my graph because I've done this twice already today. And so remember that if it says on the interval -15 to 15, you should change your x min to -15 and max to -15. And you should probably change your y's also. As I was looking through these and more, I noticed that it's usually helpful to change the y's as well. Sorry. So I'm going to graph this, but before we look at it, for any polynomial, the g of our intercept, that would be where r is 0. So if I make this r 0, then this cancels, and this cancels, and I'm left with just this right here. So my g of our intercept would be 0, -7.9. So that constant term is always going to be my intercept. Okay. Now we're going to use the calculator to find my r-intercepts. And so to do that, we press second and then trace to get to calc. We want a 0. You move the cursor so that it is anywhere to the left of the 0. So if we're looking for this 0 right here, I need my cursor to be on its left. Press enter. I need the cursor to be on the right. Press enter. Enter one more time. And that 0 is at -2.489. Okay, now let's find the middle one. So press second and then calc, 0. Move your cursor so it's anywhere to the left and press enter. Anywhere to the right and press enter. Enter one more time. So 0.606. And then let's look for the rightmost 0. So second and then trace to get to calc. One more 0. Anywhere to the left, enter. Anywhere to the right, enter. Enter one more time. 2.617. All right. We're also going to use the calculator to find the minimum and maximum. So I know I have a minimum down here somewhere. So I'm going to press second and then trace to get to calc again. Only this time I want a minimum. And then after that, the process is the same. Move the cursor anywhere to the left and press enter. Move it anywhere to the right and press enter. Enter one more time. So my minimum is at -1.2. Well, that would be 40. -17.8.787. Okay. So when I write this in more, I'm going to put a minimum of -17.787 at, don't forget your r here, r equals -1.240. So now let's do the same thing for the maximum. Second and then trace to get to calc. Maximum. Anywhere to the left of the max. Anywhere to the right of the max. Enter one more time. So in more, we put 8.411 at R equals 1.730. Okay. So looking at this graph, I can see that its first section over here on the left is decreasing. And I know that it doesn't turn around anymore, so it's going to keep decreasing forever in that direction. So that means we start decreasing at negative infinity. And then we stop decreasing at the minimum. Now keep in mind that for decreasing and increasing, you are only concerned with x values. So the x value of that minimum was negative 1.240. And now at that point, it starts increasing. And this whole middle section of the graph is increasing. It stops increasing at this maximum, which we know has an x value of 1.730. At that point, it starts decreasing again, and it's never going to stop decreasing after that, so we will go on to infinity. Okay. I already have these numbers in my stat list. So stat edit, they're already there. So let's remind ourselves that to get the equation, we just did this on Monday, that we go stat, calc, linear regression. And so the regression equation here is K of U equals 0.866U plus 4.001. And then my R value is 0.997, and my R squared value is 0.994. Sorry. So here, they want to know how many murders can be expected in a state with 10,400 weapons. Well, if we go back and look at the description for this question, it says that U is the number of thousands of registered weapons. So then 10,400, if I'm trying to convert this so that it is in terms of thousands, would be 10.4. So we just put a decimal place in between the thousands and the hundreds place. And so I'm going to take that 10.4 and plug it in. 0.866 times 10.4 plus 4.001. So 3 decimal places would be 13.007. So if we are trying to figure out how many automatic weapons would be expected in a city with 6 murders, well, murders were my K value. So then we would say 6 equals 0.866U plus 4.001 minus 4.001 0.866. Okay, but just like in the question above, they're asking me for actual weapons, and this is in terms of thousands. So this is 2.308 thousand, which means that if I was to turn this into thousands, it would be 2308. Okay, and then last but not least here, if we have a linear function, we want the r-intercepts. Remember, the r-intercepts are going to be where f of r equals 0. So 0 equals negative 16 minus 15r. Add the 16. Divide by the negative 15. They want decimals, so 16 divided by negative 15 is going to be negative 1.067. And then my f of r intercept is going to be where r equals 0, but if I put a 0 right here, this term's going to drop out, and I'm going to be left with that negative 16. So this question is asking whether my function is increasing or decreasing based on whether the slope is negative or positive. So this one has a slope of negative 15. And any linear function with a negative slope is decreasing. So a linear function with a positive slope is increasing. A linear function with a negative slope is decreasing. Okay, so that means it's shaped like this. And now I just want to make a quick note to be very careful on your test, because the question on the test has them backwards. It has left hand and then right hand. And so if you're not reading carefully, you're going to do them backwards, because that will be your habit. So on the right hand, as r goes to the right, f of r is going down. And on the left hand, as r goes to the left, f of r is going up. So, I mean, I don't want to say that's all, because that was a lot of information. And I didn't like cover every single tiny little nuanced thing that you will see on your test, but that is the general of what you need to know. So